Alright, the first layer, the pentatonic scale patterns. Maybe you already know all 5. If you don't, hey, there's 5 patterns. And the reason there are 5 different pentatonic scale patterns, there are 5 different notes in 1 octave of a pentatonic scale. If I'm to start on A, I'm thinking here it's a great teaching reference is to play A minor. We're all so used to playing at the 5th fret and playing that kind of stuff. I'm going to start with A. I've got C, D, E, G, and I'm back to A again. Okay? So I really only had 5 different notes. If I spread those notes up and down the fretboard and then begin one pattern on each of those 5 notes, I come up with 5 different fingering patterns. It's important that you know all 5. It's important that you are fluent with each one individually. It's also important that you can flow from one pattern into the next, and back again at will. Okay? So I've got all kinds of exercises in this course that will help you with that. The first pattern I'm going to start out with, I'm sure you know this one. Okay? The next pattern is going to start where my pinky left off, but I'm going to move my hand up and get the second finger on that note. Maybe you know this one, maybe you don't. Here we go. Okay? I want to point out this pattern over here has an area that's often referred to as BB's box. And sometimes, even though I practice it with my 2nd and 4th fingers, because I want to stick with that 1 fret per finger rule, I often solo in those 4 notes using my 1st and 3rd finger, because it's helpful when I need to do a bend. Okay? Alright, I'm going to get back to that pattern. And the next pattern, the 3rd pattern up, starts on the D. I'm going to again start with my 2nd finger. I've got a 1-4 here. Now I have a shift, unfortunately. You've got to move up 1 fret and play 1-4 and then 1-3. And when you come back down, you got to shift back down. Okay? Now, I don't like this shift, but it is what it is. All right? And I have noticed that in my own playing, I avoid the shift. If I'm up here above the shift, I can solo around with those notes. I rarely ever go down through the shift to go anywhere else. Instead, I'll slide down the fretboard. If I'm on the low side of that shift, I'll solo over there and then slide up into another pattern or down into the pattern before, but I'll avoid the shift. I don't always, but I often do. You might find that you want to do the same thing. All right? Now, when I played that pattern, my pinky left off at the 12th fret. I'm going to shift over to use my 1st finger to play that note. This pattern here is possibly the 2nd most important pentatonic pattern if you play rock or blues-based stuff. And there's reasons for that we'll discuss throughout the weeks of this course. But it goes like this. Okay? Where did my pinky end up? Over here, 15th fret. I'm going to put my 2nd finger on that note to play the next pattern. Hopefully you already know this, but if you don't, you see that all these patterns share notes. Each pattern begins on the note it left off on from the previous pattern. Okay? And that's an important element of all of this. All right? If you look at the diagrams of these, you'll see that they have a shape that I refer to as sort of like a puzzle piece, and the puzzle piece is all locked together. Okay? It's important. One more time up the neck, and I'm back to the main pentatonic pattern, the same one I started with at the 5th fret. A lot of times because the frets are harder, they're closer together, I'll shift over to just using 3 fingers here. Okay? But by the time I've gotten there, I've played all 5 patterns and I've looped around to that main pattern again. Anytime you change key, all you got to do is take those patterns and move them around up and down the neck, and as long as you move them all the same number of frets, you're doing fine. Okay? For example, if I come back down here to the 5th fret where I started in the key of A, and again, I want to admit I'm playing a little fast and loose with major minor, as rock players tend to do. We'll discuss that in future issues too, but let's just call this A. We're playing in A. The next song comes up and it's in G. I'm just going to take that main pattern and move it down 2 frets, and now I'm in G, technically G minor, but we'll deal with that. Well, since I moved that pattern down 2 frets, I just have to take all the others and move them down 2 frets too. I need them to stay consistent with each other. You need to learn how to do that too, all right? I've got all kinds of exercises for that. Let me show you a couple of exercises right now that you can do with this pattern, okay? Okay, the first exercise I like to do, I'm going to take that main pentatonic pattern, I'm just going to go play a note, play the next note, and go back. And I'm going to do that across the whole fretboard, working my way up 1 note at a time. And then I'm going to come back the same way. Okay, if you haven't already done a bunch of this exercise, and if you're an advanced player, I would imagine you have, but if you haven't, get to it. It'll really help get your fingers much more flexible and agile and accurate and all that kind of stuff, all right? All right, exercise 3, I've got another scale exercise for you. We're going to play 4 notes at a time. We're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to come back and start from here and go 4 again. And we're going to start from here and go 4 again. And if you go on like that, just groups of 4, and coming back to the note, basically we're ascending, starting on this note, then this note, then this note, then this note. We're basically ascending the scale 1 note at a time, and from each note we play up 4. All right? I often refer to this as up 4, back 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to go back 3 notes and go up 4 from there. Okay? You want to get used to that, get going with that. There's a whole lot of cool scale exercises that will really help you out. If you're not totally fluent with all your scale patterns, these things really make a big difference. All right? Get to it.